So break the spell of inertia. Take an action. Doesn't need to be a big one, because there's no one big action that's going to generate your goals. It's a series, it's micro actions. It's a series of small actions done consistently over time. It's like building a brand. What's up, legend? Welcome to another episode of the Rich Mystic Man podcast. I'm your host, Clint X Morgan. Let's dive right into it. And I want to discuss this notion today of everything having to be perfect before you start. And I want to call bullshit on that bullshit. And so, yeah, I guess the reason I'm talking about this is because I started this podcast a couple of months ago now, and this is my 10th episode that I'm recording right now. And I batch recorded a little bit, and then we had a retreat over in Bali. And so we had 60 of our core leaders from our business. And so we had a retreat over there, and we're masterminding, and it was epic. And then when I went to an event for some of our team in New Zealand, and went over there. It was called the Good Life Festival, and went and spoke at that event, shared some wisdom, and supported some of the team over there, which is also epic. And so I came back, and I was a little bit behind. I was like, oh, cool, I need to get a episode done today, which is Tuesday. I need to get an episode done today, which will then, keep me on track to have an episode going out every week, right? And I got struck with the man flu, a severe case of the man flu. And so I was definitely in no state to be, doing a podcast. And, if I was here, I was coughing and splurting. That could still happen because I'm sort of just recovering. I'm on the tail end of it now. I feel like I'm on the up and feeling better. And so, but you know what? My brain's just not really working like it normally would. And so I'm like, okay, I need to record a podcast, right? But I was just struggling to think of anything to record it on. So I was like, then I was like, coming up with different excuses. I was maybe like, maybe today's a bad day. Like maybe I should do it, next week, or, maybe I should do it another time when I feel a little bit better. And I was like, you know what? The biggest killer of results is inertia, doing nothing. And so I was like, oh wow, what if I talked about inertia? What about if I talked about this like perfection syndrome and not starting until things are perfect? What if I actually addressed this in my podcast? And I'm like, that's pretty cool, because now I'm like, I'm addressing something that I'm facing, I'm suffering with myself, is this inertia. It's a real thing. It is actually, if you look into Gene Keys is a powerful book that I'm reading at the moment. And it's one of the Gene Keys. I couldn't quote which one it is. Might be 29. No, anyway, I'm not sure which number it is. But in these Gene Keys, it talks about the shadow of inertia. And it's like you know what to do, but you just physically can't do it. It's like you just can't bring yourself to do the thing. And I know a lot of people are suffering with inertia, and because of that, it is a dream killer. And the reality is that we don't need shit to be perfect before it to get started, and it'll never be fucking perfect. And so if you're waiting for perfect before you get started, you're waiting for a day that's never actually going to come. And so today, in this podcast episode, it's an invitation for you to give yourself permission and cut yourself a little bit of slack, and just take that first step, because it's through that first step that then the next doorway opens, right? But if you don't take that first step, there's no next doorway. So it's just showing up, doing that thing. Like me now, I sat down and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm just going to talk about inertia, right? I'm just going to talk about inertia, right? I'm going to put the flashy light on. I got old Flashy over here. If you're listening to the podcast, there's a flashing green light, and I got old non-flashy over here. He's a red orange light, and I'm a little bit colorblind when it comes to colors. So I just press play. I hit record, and so what am I doing? I'm crushing inertia. So the way out of inertia is to do the thing that you're putting off. It really is that simple. And it's through these this new action step and taking the first step, that then the next, doorway opens. But if you don't take that step, then the next doorway is not going to open. So it's just, what's that saying? It's like, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Okay. And so if you're unsure of like the full path, that's okay. Just take the first step. If you're unsure of like every little bits and pieces you're going to have to do along the way, that's okay. Just take the first step, open that door, and then you can look around and go, okay, cool. What's the next action step? Take that little step. Okay, cool. I've taken the next action step. What's the next action? Fuck, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? Next action step. What's the next action step that you can take that's going to then get you a little bit closer? Right? And so I think having a plan is important, and, having a pathway. But in my experience, like, shit never goes to plan anyway. Like this, I've never had a plan that's actually, because I think sometimes planning, you're planning from a limited perspective. You're like, okay, cool. Well, I think this will happen, then I think that'll happen, then I'm pretty sure that'll happen, then that might happen, and so I'm going to do this. Excuse me. See, man flu, it's real. I wasn't faking it. It's real. So the idea of planning, I think it's great. Like, have a plan, but also be willing to abort the plan. Be willing to pivot from the plan. Be willing to, go a different path. If you take those first couple of steps and you realize that, oh, okay, I need to take a little bit of a side step here, a little bit of a journey onto the left. So I wanted to give you permission just to get started. So whatever that is, whatever that thing is, maybe it's like, starting at the gym. Fuck. How daunting is it, right? When you got to lose, let's say 10 kilos, you got to lose 10 kilos. Far out, man. That's such a big mission, right? What if you just got in the car? All right, cool. I'm just going to get in the car and I'm going to start driving to the gym. I'm going to see what happens, right? Because that's the biggest part. It's that inertia piece. I know for me with the gym, it's like, it's easy to put off. It's easy to, you say, I'll go tomorrow. But if I just get in the car, right, put my joggers on, get in the car, chances are I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do a workout, right? And I'll probably get there and I'll probably stay longer than what I thought I was going to stay there, because once you're in there, it's like, well, you're in there. You may as well keep going. And so, the same thing with doing this podcast, or the same thing with, doing some content on social media, or even if it's like, cool, I've made a commitment to like doing regular content on social media, but I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to say. Do you know what you could do? Pull your phone out. Pull your phone out or your computer out, wherever you do your content, and just start writing something. You might even say, listen, you might start with like, I got no fucking idea what I'm going to say, right? And then, then it snowballs, and then you have an idea and like, okay, cool. And then next minute you're writing this like big long post or something like that. So it's through the action of movement. It's through like, getting something going, that then the next piece lands. The next idea comes in. The next little bit of inspiration that can then, support you to take that next step. I remember I was in Bali a few years ago, and I was at a retreat, and I was talking to a high level entrepreneur. He's a mentor of mine named Cameron George, and he was hosting this event, super successful digital marketer, and I was at breakfast, right, and he was there, and I was like, oh cool, Cameron George is here. I'm going to ask him, because I had this feeling. I was like, okay, I was curious, as someone that's super successful, like, how do they start their day? What's their first sort of actions that they take in business, right? Because for me, and I think also to him, he had just had a child. So I was curious, like, how he was now adapting with having a newborn baby, right? Because I had gone from, having a routine where I'd get up, I would, have, some warm water. Then I'd meditate. I'd read, a good book. I'd go to the gym. I'd do some exercise. But right, that's a really powerful routine to have when you're single, but then as soon as you have kids, like that shit goes out the window because you're getting up and you're feeding your child, or you're up at 3 a.m. like nappy change that never ends, toasted chocolate spread, it is doing in my head. There's some lyrics from a new song of mine. So, right. And so anyway, I was curious with Cam. I was like, hey mate, like, what do you do, in terms of like business stuff? And I said, for me, like, I have a nanny come in at 9. So from like 9 o'clock, then that's when I could sort of get into like the business stuff. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I like to like get into action ASAP. And I was like, okay, cool. It's like, what, what's like an action? I was there waiting for the wisdom. He's like, well, I'll go to the gym. I was like, oh, you go to the gym. And so, here he was, a successful entrepreneur, and his first action step for the day was just going to the gym. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because, and I sort of quizzed him on a little bit more. He's like, well, it's sort of just, it's creating that forward movement. It's doing something. It's like, it's physical, it's an action. And so it's like setting you up for then to do the next thing. And I'm like, okay, that's really powerful. And so, yeah, what's that thing for you? What's that thing that you could do that then sparks the on-flow effect to do the next thing, right? And, if you look at it in food, for example, it's like if you start your day with something shitty, chances are you're going to have something shitty again and again, right? But if you start your day with something nourishing, right, something healthy, something, alive with a lot of energy, that's going to, supply you with nutrients and nourish your body, and some, good H2O, some water that's going to hydrate your body, chances are the next thing you have is going to be, along that line as well. And so, have you ever been in this situation where, you're really strict on a diet, you're all in, you're doing something for like 40 days or something, and following this like intense, like really disciplined diet, right? And you go like, cool, 40 days. And then it gets to like day 36 and you start to get a little bit edgy, and you're like, fuck, just one donut. I'm just going to have one donut and that's it, right? One donut, it's not going to derail my progress. I'm just going to have that one donut. You have that one donut, and then before you know it, you've had 10 donuts. What happened, right? You've taken an action step in the direction of a way that you don't want to go in, and it's spiraled. It's like accelerated in like a negative sense. Well, maybe that's not a negative sense for you. Like 10 donuts, like you could look over, that's a good day. That's a good day. If I could eat 10 donuts in a day, then that's a good day. Maybe for you that is a good thing. And so it's this idea of like just taking that first step. So this can work in a negative way, but this can also work in a positive way, right? So are you setting yourself up for success? And so what are some of these first action steps that you're taking that are going to produce the results? And the reality is that if you don't prioritize high priority things in your day will get filled with low priority things. And so are you then taking action in the direction of the things that you want to create? Right. And so it's like, maybe the first thing I do is some body movement. So for me, one thing I love to do is a bit of Qi Gong. It only takes me about, probably 5 to 10 minutes. It's just some simple movements. And if you don't know what Qi Gong is, just Google it. There's heaps of like free resources online. You can go on YouTube. There's heaps of people that, share different, Qi Gong movements online. But it's just a simple like body movement, just gets the body, moving and shaking. And, the Qi is energy and Gong is, gonging it. I don't know. It's like just sort of movement. I think that's what it means. It's like, yeah. I think Qi Gong means energy movement, right? So it's just like moving the energy within the body. So I like to do that, before I really, get on my phone or do anything else. I'm like, cool, if I just do a little bit of Qi Gong, 5-10 minutes, and just sort of gets the body moving, and then that sets me up, it propels me forward with some more positive, actions and movements that's going to support me along my day. So it's like the first thing you do, the first movement you make, the first action step you take, right? It's you don't know like what then the next action steps are going to be and what that next piece is going to be, but it sort of sets you up on that path and opens up a gateway, a positive gateway, which then can open up more positive doors, and set you up on a path that success instead of a path of self-fucking destruction, which you see a lot of people on these days with downward spirals. And, you can probably all relate to a time with alcohol. You're like, yeah, I'll just have one drink, and next minute you've had 12 and you don't remember anything, and you wake up the next day and you're like, holy shit, what happened? Right? It's a prime example of that. One little action step then propels you down a pathway that potentially you don't want to go. Right? So how can I take an action step that's going to propel me into the direction that I want to go? Right? And so this is how it links back to what I was initially sharing, is like this problem of inertia is, people sit around and don't actually do anything. And then so their dreams and goals and things that want to create just get pushed back further and further and further and further and further and further until that gap becomes so large that it actually becomes like you start to really doubt yourself, you get down on yourself, you become depressed, and it's a real dream killer and a real energy killer, right? And how to then negate this and how to create a different reality for yourself is just to take an action step. Just one small little thing. What's one small little thing that I can do today that's going to get me just that one little bit closer to my goals? What's that one little action step that I can do that's going to set me up just that little bit further along the path of my success? It doesn't matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, where you are on whatever journey, your man journey, is like, it's just that one little thing that you could do, just that one little action step that then what it'll do, it'll set up a chain reaction to then the next action step, the next action step, the next thing that you need to do. So I want you to take out a pad and a pen, if you can, or just like notes on your phone, and write down what's that big thing you've been putting off. What do you have inertia in? And the only way you're going to break through this thing is by doing the opposite of what the thing that you're in inertia in. Taking some action in the other direction of it. So, maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's creating a better relationship with your wife. Maybe it's being more present with your children. Maybe it's, showing up and taking the action that you need in your business. Maybe it's like, creating more content on your social media. Maybe it's like, launching into some new type of, marketing strategy you want to do in your business. Maybe it's endless the things that you could do. Maybe you want to become a fucking actor, right? But you've been putting it off. Maybe you want to learn how to play the guitar. Maybe you want to learn how to swim. Maybe you want to take your kid and go get them to learn a martial art. Right? That's one for me. That's me. That's something there for me. My son, I'd like to, get into do martial arts. I do this martial arts called Arakan. I'd like to get him to do it as well. And I've been sort of sussing it out with my instructor, but I've been putting it off. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, for me, this exercise is like, cool, let's take some action. Let's lock it in. Let's make it a regular thing. And, let's create some momentum in that, the direction of that thing. So what's that thing for you? So you've written it down. Now, what's one action step you could take that's going to move the needle forward just that little bit? But if it's going to the gym, maybe you need to go join a gym. Simple. Maybe you need to go hire a personal trainer. Right? Maybe you need to go buy some new shoes, some gym shoes. Maybe you need to put maybe it's not going to gym, it's just exercising. Maybe you need to put your runners on and just go outside, see what happens. Put your runners on, go outside and just start running. See what happens. Right? Maybe you'll realize you love it and you're like, holy shit. Or maybe you'll realize how fucking unfit you are And then you realize that you need to do a little bit more. You know, for me, when I started my online business, I didn't have a clear plan. I just got started, and I just figured it out as I went. And you know, for me, I feel that's the best way. Sure, have like a mentor, have someone that's like supporting you, have a system, have a structure, have a process, have a formula, have all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, is like you in forward movement is going to get more results than any fucking formula. Just you in forward movement. You showing up, taking action. One step. I put one foot forward, I put the other foot forward. I put the next foot forward, I put the next foot forward. So what's the one step? Write that down. Now give yourself a deadline to do it. And I'd make it within the next 24 hours maximum. If you can do it now. Like, turn this podcast off and just do it. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. So if you're in a place, like, just scrap the rest of this podcast, right? And just do it. Make it happen. You'll feel a sense of fulfillment. You'll be put into a situation where you'll have the next bit of inspiration that can then fuel your next bit of inspiration. And you'll be stepping into a place of unknownness, which is fulfillment. And if we can get comfortable stepping into that place of unknown, then that's where the magic is. That's where the magic is. But too many people are just stuck doing the same shit over and over and over again, over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And there's power in repetition, 100%. So it's nothing wrong with doing the same shit over and over again, because there's power in repetition. There's power in the mundane. There's power in discipline. You know, it's like if you want to lose weight, it's like you just need to work out over and 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 over again, right? So there is power in repetition. However, there's a positive edge to that, and there's also a negative edge to that. Most people are stuck in the fucking negative edge because they're doing the same shit over and over and over again. They're eating the donut, eating the donut, eating the donut, eating the donut, bad breakfast choice, bad lunch choice, bad dinner choice, and they keep creating the same result over and over and over again. So you need to break out of that and use the power of repetition, use the power of habit, but in the direction of the path that you want to be going, into the positive side of that. And when I say positive, it's just, you know, what I mean by positive is getting the result that you want. So instead of, you know, every action step you're taking on the daily is creating more and more disease or ill health, you know, the action that you're taking in life is creating more good health. The power of compound, the compounding interest of your actions is always working. It's just which way is it going? Which way is it driving you? So just take that one step. Let this podcast be the inspiration that puts you in the path to do that thing you've been putting off. And sometimes it's linked. So, for example, it's like, okay, I just want to make money, Clint. Great, I got it. But if you're neglecting your health, maybe by actually focusing on your health, you'll actually then start to make money. I just want to get healthy, Clint. Yeah. And by, you know, prioritizing your relationship or your family or being there for your children, right? Get that right. And then your health and your priorities and things will also, you know, have a chain on effect. So it's like how you do one thing is how you do all things. So, you know, maybe there's something there that you've been putting off and you think, yeah, I don't do it because I want to make money, Clint. I want to make money. I want to grow my business. Epic, right? Get in the flow, get in the energetic state, because when you're in a healthy, energetic state, when you have a a clear vessel and a clean body and good nutrition and, good water, and you're moving, then you're going to show up in a different way. You're going to have a better energy about you. You're going to have more energy you can then put into your business and your creations, which is going to then yield a better result. So I don't think they're not linked, because they are linked. And just kill inertia. Kill inertia by doing the opposite thing. And sometimes you're in that inertia, you're so deep in it. I remember when I read the gene key thing, I was so stuck in inertia. I'm like, I can see that I'm stuck in inertia, but I can't bring myself to do anything about it. I know what I need to do, but I just can't. And that's what I was saying to myself. And so I had to I had to put my big boy pants on and do the thing that I needed to do, which then broke the spell of inertia. And it was probably a 24-hour period where I had to I had to really bring myself to do it. But then I noticed by bringing myself to do it, things shifted very quickly. So break the spell of inertia, take an action. Doesn't need to be a big one, because there's no one big action that's going to generate your goals. It's a series of micro actions. It's a series of small actions done consistently over time. It's like building a brand. I've just, I've hired this epic marketing team. We started putting out consistent content. I've been doing this podcast. I've been doing it for, 5-6 weeks. I'm like, I should be a billionaire. No, it's just consistently done it over time, day in, weekly. I'll look back after a few years' time and I would have done 150 podcasts or something like that. I'd be better at doing podcasts. I'd, have more of an audience. I'd have more of a following. Same with the content that then surrounds it. I'd have more of an audience. I had more of a following, right? But it's just these things done, consistently done, daily, over time. Then you turn around and you look back, you're like, holy shit, I just built, a multi-million-dollar brand. But it was just done, me showing up, one step, next step, one step. And it sounds boring, but that's the reality of life. You can make it exciting, but it's just consistently doing those little things over and over again. All right, legends, stay hydrated, live large, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
Sitting here watching the clock, I'm struggling, thinking of the bullshit that I've been juggling. Is there more to life than this? I'm thinking twice about the price I'm paying in this 9-to-5 life. The sweatshop